what's the best way to find off-market properties? Well, if you think about the role of an estate agent, what an estate agent does, they market in their location to say, hey, look, we can sell your property. Bring your property to us. If you're thinking about selling, we'll advertise it. We'll find you a buyer. We'll get the best price for you. That's essentially what they're doing. So what you would be doing is you're targeting the same people that they're targeting. So there's a number of ways you could do that. For example, let's say it's a particular handful of streets that you're interested in. You could leaflet that street, literally leaflets to the letterbox to say, hey, I'm really interested in purchasing property on this street. If you're even remotely thinking about selling, please give me a call. I'd like to have a conversation with you. I'm really keen. I'm organized. I'm ready to go. And I can work to your timescales. For example, something like that. Sometimes people would use leaflets like sell your house fast for cash. Often that implies that you're going to be paying a lower price. Your response to those kind of leaflets will generally be a lot lower than one where it feels like you might be more fair in the price. But it depends on the objective of what you're trying to achieve. Now, what we can also do is more modern methods like Facebook adverts, YouTube adverts, where you can target a certain audience in order to be able to get a message in front of them and say, hey, if you're thinking about selling. Now, the challenge with all this type of marketing is we're just going in front of lots of people in the hope that a small number of people may be thinking about selling and then respond to your marketing message. And then you get in front of them and have a conversation with them. The fact that whether you should buy, they should sell directly to you or they should sell through an agent, that's a separate matter. But the point is you want to be able to get in front of them, at least have an opportunity to have a conversation. The alternative way, which is the way we prefer to do it these days, and we've done many of these other things as well that I've talked about, my preference is to target specific properties. So there might be something about that property we're interested in. So for example, it's a large house with a huge garden. It's on a corner plot, meaning we may be able to slice off that garden, part of it, and be able to build another property on the back. So then we target that owner with a letter, say, hey, we'd love to speak to you about your property. We think we can probably pay you more than it's worth. Would you be interested in having a conversation? Why would we pay more? Well, we can pay more because we see a development opportunity to be able to make money from that particular site. That's why we can offer to pay more. And it's a targeted letter to an individual, and it'll probably get a high response rate because we've said something and probably grab their attention. Can pay you more, for example, than the market rate. So that way, the targeted letters, I find, are much more effective because it enables you to have a conversation where you can demonstrate how you can give them something that maybe weren't even thinking about. At this stage, they weren't even thinking about selling. A third suggestion for you in terms of finding people that are off market looking to sell is building relationships with estate agents. So and this takes time, and also it requires some credibility where they can see you're genuine, that you'll purchase property. Or also in a slow market when they're struggling to sell property, then it's easier to do this. In a fast-moving market and where there's lots of demand, it's much more difficult to do this. But in a slower market, this works really well. So what we would do, the agents are out there talking to sellers, just like we were talking about before. They're marketing for the sellers. The sellers come to them and say, hey, Mr. Agent, I'd like to sell my property. What can you do for me? Agents say, I can do X, Y, Z for you. Are you thinking about selling? Let's get you on the market. Let's get it advertised. Let's get the brochure, the photographs, blah, blah, blah. There'll also be some people that will have that conversation. They may not be sure about selling just yet, or may not be sure about going to the market and advertising it. And there'll be occasions where they'll say, well, look, I might consider selling if I could achieve this. Don't necessarily want all the razzmatazz of kind of like people trampling through the property, lots of strangers in the house, and they prefer more of a discreet type sale. And in that situation, the agent could contact you if you're in the little black book, as somebody say, hey, look, Saj, I've got this property. We've just viewed it. We may be bringing it to the market, but we might be able to get a deal done before it comes to the market. And it may even be that they are going to take the market and that's been agreed, but actually there's a gap of maybe a window or something before it goes onto the open market. There's an opportunity to buy. Again, it's off market because it hasn't been advertised anywhere. So there's an opportunity to get a deal done in that way as well.